Fairfax Elementary. My name is Miss McCabe, and I am a 4th grade ELA teacher. Today, I am going to be reading Chapter 4 of Finding Goby. There's Goby. Goby was sad. She barked and whimpered, but the man just shook his head. Then he walked away, leaving her with the woman holding her. The woman was nice and friendly, and she kept petting Goby and giving her treats. But she wasn't the man. Goby barked again, but the man was already out of sight. Dion had to force himself not to look back. It was for her own good, he kept telling himself. Today was going to be long and hot. Goby had done amazingly well so far, but there was no way she'd be able to handle the run today, especially since there wouldn't be any shade or any water. It was better for him to go without her. One of the race volunteers had agreed to keep Goby safe today while Dion ran. She also promised to bring the little dog to tonight's campsite with her. But Dion still couldn't stop hearing the sorrow and desperation in Goby's voice as she whined and whimpered and barked at him to return. An hour later, Dion was still gritting his teeth. Only now, it wasn't because of Goby. Something else was frustrating him, or someone else. Everyone had heard about Dion finishing first yesterday, and he'd gotten lots of congratulations from the other runners as they lined up that morning.
Wow, good job.
Dion was feeling good, strong, and rested, and he took the lead right away. He had long legs, and they ate up the ground despite the heavy wind. But one runner was deliberately not passing Dion. Tommy. Running into the wind was hard. It took a lot of effort and could easily drain even the strongest runner. But if you were running behind someone else, that person would take the wind instead of you. You'd be able to run more easily. It was called drafting, and it wasn't against the rules. The polite thing to do would be for 2 or more runners to take turns. First, one ran in front and the others drafted. Then they traded places. That way, nobody had to fight the wind the whole way. It was more fair if everyone shared an effort. He deliberately ran right behind Dion. Not 10 or even 5 feet behind either. Dion could practically feel Tommy's breath on the back of his neck. That was how close they were. And when he looked down, their 2 shadows were merged into a single blur, which meant that Dion was doing all the work the whole way. And Tommy was relaxing, saving his own energy for later. All through the day, Dion stayed in the lead, and Tommy was right at his heels. Then, finally, they reached the last of the day's checkpoints. Dion was exhausted. And while he paused to drink some water there, that was when Tommy made his move. Whoosh! It was as if someone had strapped a rocket to Tommy's back. When Dion slowed to a stop at the checkpoint, Tommy zoomed past. Now, he was using all the strength he'd saved. And Dion didn't have the energy to stop him.
No, stop!
Julian and Zing appeared while Dion was still regathering his strength. They nodded at him, but didn't pause either. Instead, they spotted Tommy up ahead and took off after him. It was clear that Julian and Zing were hoping to catch or even pass Tommy, just as Dion had yesterday. Maybe they could, although Tommy now had a big lead and fresh legs. Dion kept running. What else could he do? But he was was frustrated all over again, and he was wondering again if coming here had been a huge mistake. He was tired, so tired, and his legs ached and his head was swimming. Why did he want to keep doing this to himself? Maybe he should just quit. There was no way he could win anyway, but he kept running. He could barely feel his legs, and he felt as if he were swimming through a fog, but he kept going. Finally, the finish line came into sight. Tommy was long gone. Woo! So were Julian and Zing. Another runner had passed Dion as well, but none of that mattered. Because sitting there patiently by the finish line was a small brown lump. And as soon as Dion got close, the lump sprang into the air, unfolding as it went. Now, suddenly, it was a small, fuzzy brown dog, and it was running for Dion, tail up, tongue out. And seeing Gobi, Dion smiled for the first time that day. It was Gobi's presence, her enthusiasm, and her support that got him across that finish line. Without her there, Dion wasn't sure he'd have made it at all. Gobi was thrilled to see the man again. He hadn't forgotten her. And he was smiling at her too. Once he'd finished running, he scooped her up, and she covered his face in licks. He laughed. And then the two of them crawled into their tent to eat and drink and rest. Gobi had been well looked after that day, but she still missed him. He was back now, though, and that was all that mattered.